Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's video. I'm here with Tom Fox, author of the Compliance Handbook, founder of the award-winning Compliance Podcast Network, and so much more. Tom, thank you so much for being here with us today. We are here to chat about compliance ahead of our webinar, Everything You Need to Know to Get Ethics and Compliance Investigations Right, according to the Department of Justice, on August 30th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tom, I've got a few questions for you today. Are you ready to jump in?
Happy to be here and ready to go.
Awesome. So my first question for you. Can you briefly explain what's behind the increased importance of ethics and compliance investigations?
Certainly, the Department of Justice last fall articulated a new standard around how they will evaluate cases that are under investigation. And they're going to look at and really evaluate corporate culture and the number of people who may have been involved in any illegal acts and the evidence around that. And that has put really increased pressure on internal investigations. Internal investigations have been a part of compliance for as long as there's been compliance. So that's well known to the compliance community. But here we are 20 years later talking about the importance of internal investigations. And sometimes you have to go back to the future, and I think that's what we're doing here. The DOJ has reemphasized this, and I want to take this opportunity in this webinar to really sit down with compliance professionals and reemphasize what many of us think is one of the basics of a best practice compliance program.
That's fantastic, and I think that's gonna be very, very valuable for those who are working in the field where this landscape is changing. You've said recently that triage is the key to a successful investigation. Can you tell us a little bit about why you say that?
Sure. Triage is the key to a successful investigation, and it's really the key to a successful component of your overall compliance program. But in terms of the investigation, getting the information in from a report, whether it's an internal hotline report, whether it's someone who goes into a supervisor's office and says, I have a question, or I want to raise my hand and speak up, or whether it comes through some other mechanism, you have to determine the seriousness of the nature of the issue and then get that to the right person to do an investigation. For instance, if you have something around an expense report violation, certainly could be important, but it's not perhaps an illegal act or even a bet the company situation. And so you can deal with it quickly, efficiently in-house by reviewing expense reports and talking to a few people. But if it turns out there may be fraud, accounting fraud, or illegal or unethical behavior, which could lead to illegal behavior, that's something that's very serious, and you need to elevate that. It may go as high as the board of directors, and you need to bring in serious investigative counsel. So triage is critical to make an initial determination of how important an issue is, how significant it is, and how quickly you need to get to your investigation because the clock is ticking.
Absolutely. And I think the importance of triaging definitely also comes into play with the actions that the Department of Justice are taking, which is my next question. So you've said that enforcement is becoming a very real concern. Can you tell us what you know about the recent Department of Justice changes or actions taken?
Sure. And if I can broaden it out a little bit to even court cases. The Department of Justice in October was a major announcement by the Deputy Attorney General, Lisa Monaco, and she announced that corporate culture would now be a part of the evaluation of any enforcement action. So we as a compliance community need to be able to evaluate and perhaps even investigate our corporate culture. Two, companies have to turn over all relevant information and all people who may have been involved. So that puts additional pressure on the investigative team to get it right. You can't continue to investigate and continue to turn over documents or other information to the Department of Justice in a haphazard manner. They're going to look for a professional investigation.
Mhm.
Court cases have also come into play in this area because if individuals who were involved in illegal conduct and are later charged criminally, they have the right to that investigative report, and they have the right to the underlying documentation. And so it's put additional pressure on the investigative team to investigate thoroughly, to investigate professionally, to investigate using a protocol or process so that your final investigation can be defended either to the Department of Justice, or if there's a criminal action involving third parties or others, in a court of law. So it really, all of these factors have kind of coalesced to make internal investigations or investigations led by outside counsel even more important than they have been in the past.
The defense is a really good point, and that's actually what my next question is. You keep like wonderfully segueing in for me. Whether you're defending, to the Department of Justice or whether you're defending in a court of law, can you tell us what are the key elements to remember when you're defending your investigations, and what do you think people aren't thinking about? What do you think people are forgetting about when it comes to their defense?
Number one, what's your protocol or your process? Do you have a process? Create your process prior to the report coming in, so you're not scrambling to say, oh my gosh, we have a potential illegal violation. What's our investigation process? And you don't have one. So have an investigation process. Two, follow that investigation process so that if you have to defend that investigation, you can say to the Department of Justice or any other trier of fact, here was our process. Here's the steps I did to follow that process. And here are the documented steps. And then number three is that final word, documentation. Anyone who has ever heard me speak in the past 15 years know that I say the following. The three most important things in any compliance program are the following: document, document, document.
Mhm.
That is even more so true in your investigation. To document the steps you've taken. If you take a step outside your investigation protocol because something new has come up, that's fine, but document why you did it. If you go down a rabbit trail, document why you did that. If you decide not to go down a rabbit trail, document your decision, because 2, 3, or 5 years from now, when you're in court or in some other location where you have to defend that, you may not remember the reason. And two, if you got it documented contemporaneously when you made the decision, it will refresh your memory and allow you to give a better and fuller explanation. So the third part is equally critical. Document the decisions you made and your findings with the evidence attached.
The documentation part really stands out to me because you're absolutely right. In the amount of time that, the justice system or the court system takes, when you do something in the moment, you absolutely do remember exactly why you did it. But 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, you won't. So that's a fantastic point. That was my final question for you. Thank you so much for sitting down with us today. I am really looking forward to our webinar, which, to remind everyone, if this video interested you or if you have questions, we are going to be doing a webinar with Tom Fox on August 30th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's called Everything You Need to Know to Get Ethics and Compliance Investigations Right According to the Department of Justice. Tom, thank you so much for being here. Do you have anything to say to everyone before we go?
I hope you'll join us for this webinar. I hope you'll bring your questions. But in addition to the webinar itself, I'm going to have obviously a slide deck, which you can take away as a reference tool. And I'm also going to have a white paper on the big topics that I touch on. So you'll be able to have that, which will lay out some of the topics we've talked about in this video, including document, triage, and investigative protocol. So I hope you'll join us for the webinar. I hope you will utilize the takeaways that we provide and the white paper. I'm looking forward to visiting with everyone.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much.